Shiny new Windows Phone software, and some tantalizing new hardware to go along with it. That, plus early HTC and Samsung sales figures, plus an unsolicited book review, and your listener mail await on episode 090 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast where we discuss smartphones, tablets, wearables, and other gadgets you dreamed of owning when you were young. From Boston, Massachusetts, I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and I'm joined on today's show by Mr. Tablet Worker himself, North Carolinian and senior editor Taylor Martin. Good afternoon.
Howdy.
And by Windows Phone champion cum Nexus owner, contributing editor Adam Dowd. Nice to have you back after a long absence, sir.
Nice to be back.
Wow. We have a lot to get caught up on. There has been a lot that has been going on. But first, an apology to you gentlemen on the air with me and to listeners who are listening. If this episode gets a little wonky, it's because I'm operating on zero sleep. And that is not that is not hyperbole. I actually did not sleep last night.
Sleep is for the weak.
That's right. So I have holes in my brain. I have more holes in my brain than I did yesterday. If the physiological science is to be, but don't you make that joke, Taylor. I'm not tired enough to not know what you were going to say.
I wasn't going to say anything mean. I was just going to say that we switched places. Because I normally don't sleep, and then you do. And last night I got 10 hours of sleep.
Oh, good for you.
I passed out at 10 p.m.
Really? Well, that's excellent news.
I've got kids. I never sleep, so I'm with you, Michael.
Well, you must know why I stayed up all night. I was reading a book called Trapped Under the Sea by Neil Sweety, or Sweety. He's a Boston Globe writer. This has nothing to do with technology, but you guys must know about this. It's a nonfiction account of a very harrowing tale. What do you guys know about sewage?
It's gross.
It is gross. It is. What about you, Taylor?
I produce it every day.
All right, that's good. I mean, you're being honest. I like that. It's that's what we know. That's what we know about sewage. So sewage has to be treated before it's released into the ocean. And in Boston, the decision was made after polluting our harbor for centuries with raw sewage to not only treat it but also to send it far away. And in order to do that, a 10-mile long underwater tunnel was constructed that juts out into the Atlantic. And
I was hoping you were going to say that they constructed like sewage torpedoes.
Yeah.
Shot them out the sea.
You just zap them right before they leave your house. No. Every toilet that is flushed in Greater Boston basically goes to this treatment plant and then out this 10-mile long underwater pipe. But the thing is, the pipe had to be built, and when the pipe was built, because of some horrible safety regulations, some guys died. And it was a really, really horrible story a little over a decade ago. And this book just was too good for me to put down. So we don't get any kickbacks from that Trapped Under the Sea by Neil Sweety. I'm just saying the book was so good that it kept me up all night, and now I'm a little weird in the head. So if you like nonfiction accounts and you are capable of handling some dark truth, it's intense. So, just saying.
I've been getting into reading lately, too, so maybe I'll pick it up.
You've been getting into... What have you been reading today, Taylor? Welcome to the Book Hour on the Pocketnow Weekly. Tell us what you've been reading recently, Taylor.
I recently read The 4-Hour Workweek, which is one of those self-help, promotional books. But
oh dear, that's not the same thing.
It's not. But it's... I just wanted something to read that was, I guess... a lot of people had recommended it to me, including Brandon Miniman. So I bought it, and
he recommended that to me too. Come to think of it, okay. What did you think of it?
Yeah, and I'm about 50% through it. I got kind of sidetracked, but
by sleep,
it's good. By sleep and other things, but I really like the way it makes you think about what you do. I don't necessarily think that I can apply what's in the book to my life as much as I'd like to, because this guy, whatever he did, is.
It's about managing your time better, right?
Yeah, but he's kind of sketchy. Not sketchy, but the amount of money he brings in is sketchy.
And of course, the last
$40,000 a month.
Yeah, if the more money you bring in, the easier I think it is to manage your time. But maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah,
And of
I don't
course,
know.
the last line of the book is, and of course, if you have kids, none of this will work.
Yeah. Do not buy this book if you have children.
Exactly.
So I bought it on the recommendation, and I really got into it, and I wish I could read more.
Well, that's good to know. Adam, are you reading anything interesting before we get into the technology news of the week?
I've been reading a whole lot of technology news of the week. Actually.
Hey, that's
I've been reading
nice.
a lot of editorials from Taylor Martin.
Then, sir, you are well positioned to speak with us this week, and I'm glad you're here. The reason, listeners, we've brought Adam Dowd back is not just because we missed him, but because he is well versed in Windows Phone, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do that, I just realized we have to mention two things. There are 2 reviews on the horizon. Yay! Actually, that's not true. There are 4 reviews, but 3 of them kind of are the same thing. The Taylor Martin, you want to tell the listeners what you got in the mail recently?
Well, I got 2 things in the mail recently.
Oh, hey! And this applies to both. Yes. Tell us. Fulfill us. No.
So first,
Inform us.
the Zen's wireless car charger arrived.
Yes.
So it was announced yesterday. I've had it for a while and actually haven't had a chance to put it in my car because I haven't been carrying a Qi-enabled phone. But also the HTC One M8 for Verizon arrived.
Yeah,
Nice.
and what was originally going to be a review rebuttal is now going to be a full-fledged review. So we're going to have, in addition to the Unlocked review, which has been up for a while, we're going to have the Verizon Wireless version review, which is going to be up, next week?
Yes.
Cool. How do you like it so far?
Excellent.
I like it a lot, like more than I probably should. And I'm not going to recant anything I've said about it because everything I've said about it is still true. So it's really, really good. The battery life is the only thing I'm kind of iffy on, and I mentioned that. A lot of people have said the battery life is good. I'm not getting that. And the camera is But everything else, every last detail other than those 2 things is absolutely 100% spot on. The software is a lot better than I ever imagined it would be.
Oh yeah, and I'm not surprised that you're experiencing that. Your radio loadout is entirely different. I mean, I reviewed, and a lot of people reviewed the UK version, which was GSM and HSPA only. Here in the States, at least, and you have a CDMA LTE device with older software. So it's like, okay, you're going to have some different stuff going on.
It's been on standby unplugged since 9. Like, I haven't really used it today because I've been so busy, and it's at 82%. I sat down at my desk an hour and a half ago, and it was at 90%, and it's just dropped 8% just sitting here.
Just sitting on standby. Interesting. Huh. I look forward to hearing more details on that. And, of course, your Zen's project is... so Taylor has we have 3 devices from Zen's in the office. Taylor has the car charger, which is Qi wireless charging enabled. Joe has a kind of a generic Qi wireless charger from Zen's as well. And I have a Qi-enabled wireless speaker, which is really cool because it's not just a wireless... It's not like the JBL Power Dock for Nokia. Adam, you remember that thing, right?
I do. I was going to ask if that was the same thing.
Yeah, no. So the JBL Power Dock launched with the Lumia 920, listeners, if you remember, and it's a massive thing. And who's walking around in heels in one of your locales?
I know, not mine.
That's me. Sorry, hardwood floors outside.
Okay. So the JBL Power Dock was awesome, but it was also massive, and it cost $300 when it first went on sale. This thing is tiny, and it doesn't need to stay plugged into the wall. It has a rechargeable battery within, so you can take this thing around town as a wireless speaker. That is, I don't know what the size is. It's like if you took a Nexus 7, a new Nexus 7, and made it a little boxier. Or significantly boxier, actually, like thicker. That's what it's like. But you carry it around town, and you just plop this thing down on the table, no wires, no nothing. Then you put your Qi-enabled phone on top of it. It charges your phone while also streaming audio. And I've been trying to kill mine for 4 hours of continuous use, and it's still not dead. So it's a cool thing. I like it so far. Yeah, it's rad. Except... Adam, what is my problem with all of these Qi-enabled accessories?
Qi is not doing well these days.
I can't. I have something like 40 phones in my office, and one of them has Qi-enabled charging, and that's because I bought the stupid sled for it, the charging case.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of phones too, and I have the Nexus 5. It's the only one that's Qi enabled.
I hate this. This is not the future I wanted to be in back in 2011 when I was writing a lot of pieces about Qi, or 2012.
Well, I mean, I don't even care which standard you go with. Just pick one and run with it. I mean, it's like VHS versus Betamax all over again. Just someone win, please.
Indeed.
Blu-ray versus DVD HD or HD DVD.
Laser disc.
Oh,
yes, laser disc.
Let's not talk about mini discs again. You'll get me started. And we will never get into the podcast. Go ahead.
That was a long derailment in my podcast.
It wasn't a derailment. That was part of the. It was on topic.
You derailed it because you were talking.
Zap.
Yeah, the charger for my car. There's a problem. My car, the cup holder. So this works by sitting in a cup holder,
it
and
looks
then your
so
phone
funny.
sits in it.
It
looks really weird.
It looks like a cup, like a McDonald's cup, but that's black and plastic with a slot on the top, and you drop your phone in the slot.
Right.
But your problem is what? Your cup holder is like behind the driver's seat?
Yeah, the cup holders are like in the center console, but they're positioned behind the seat.
That sucks.
So to get to them, you have to like contort your body. It's a very small, compact car, and you can move around where the cup holders are, so they're movable. But I can't charge phones or anything because that's where my plug is if I move the cup holder. So it's kind of an if or thing. And if I'm charging, I have to plug the Qi charger in there, so I can't move it up. You'll see in the review.
I was just going to say we're going to learn more in the review, right? Yeah. So I'm looking forward to kind of doing this. I've been shooting footage for this thing all day, and it's been fun. But I don't know if I'm going to have the faculties to write the script later today. I'm feeling kind of spacey, but we'll have some coffee, and it'll be great. Well, guys, what do you think? You think we should jump on into the big news of the week?
I'm wondering why we haven't jumped into it already.
Adam told me we were already done with Windows Phone news. That's all I know. When I sat down, he said we were already done.
We're through.
I did not sign up for this.
Well, I think we left a few things behind. Let's jump into Windows Phone.
Okay.
All right. Adam, since you're the guest of honor, you want to take us through some of the announcements we got from yesterday's Build keynote?
Yeah, I'll probably miss some because there was a lot. But it's really nice, actually. There's a 15-minute video that you can get off of YouTube that Stephen Constantinople, I don't remember his last name.
Stefan Constantinescu, yes.
That's the one. He posted, he's like, why did I waste 3 hours watching this demo if all I had to do was watch this 15-minute YouTube video? So you should go find that. But Microsoft announced a whole bunch of stuff, predominantly Windows Phone 8.1, which includes a number of different features, plus the ultra sexy Cortana, which is awesome. A lot of what Windows 8.1 is bringing is a lot of improvements to the operating system, which it really needed. There's things like customizable lock screens and the ability to change the background behind your live tiles, which I think is kind of cool, but apparently is controversial on some of the internets.
That's controversial? People don't like the what you can do. It's a canvas that goes behind all the buttons, and basically the buttons are components of the same painting. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've seen,
but it also makes the text kind of difficult to read. Just
I guess depending
more
on
so than a solid color would.
Depending on what image you load, right? Yeah, you kind of want to favor like an out of focus, a bokeh image, if you will.
And this is what I've been asking for all along, only because you can choose whatever color you want. Just pick a solid color wallpaper and then and apply it.
Yeah, sure. That's a really good point. So if you don't want to do graphics, you can just pick a color from the color wheel and create a 1280 by 720 image. And
but
bam.
do they have a color wheel now?
I don't think so. But I mean, you can do it.
It's not built in, but you
can do it yourself.
Okay,
yeah.
It's a workaround.
Right. And that's fine. While we're talking about this, I don't want to forget it because I don't think any of our pieces mention it. How about those sweet-looking lock screens?
Those are pretty cool.
Those are nice.
Yeah. So like there was one, and I forgot, Joe Belfiore said the name of it, but there's one that when the lock screen is draped over your screen and you go to unlock it, like the time and date are on diagonals to each other. And
that's what it's called.
Exactly. It's called diagonals.
It's called diagonals. Yeah, it's similar or angles or something. And if you stick your thumb on the lock screen and kind of like slowly swipe it up, they diverge from one another. Like all the text strings like slide out at different rates. It's really cool looking. Then there's that Tokyo one where all the orbs line up into a
the
lock.
knobs. Yep.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I think some of these what's it called? These cosmetic improvements have been welcome, even though they're not revolutionary. It's still kind of like the home screen of tiles, and some of them rotate.
Yeah,
the refinements and polish that the OS needs. I can't say words today.
Words are hard.
Yes, they are. That's what I typically have to say to Michael on here. And I imagine towards the end of this podcast, I'm going to have to say that to him again.
I am working my hardest to avoid that admonishment from you today.
Add me on Twitter. Follow me at pocketnow.com/tag words -tag.
So let's talk about one of the things that I don't think looks very good, and which we've talked about a lot on this show before, and I don't think it's placed in the right position either.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, I know you do. The Action Center, the Windows Phone Notification Center. What do we think about this, guys? I mean, the roars in the audience were supreme when this was unveiled. I think people have been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm just as excited. But yeah,
it's absolutely needed.
Yes, it's better to have than to not have.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Just saying.
I mean, anybody who's ever had a Windows Phone, sitting on the table that beeped, and you're washing dishes, and you like dry off your hands, you go over, you swipe it up, and you're like, okay, now what the heck am I supposed to be looking at? I mean, that's what you needed it for.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you've arranged your live tiles properly, I think it's not quite as necessary. What did they announce? I don't mean to go back to the lock screen, but you know how you have the 5 customizable notification slots on the lock screen, or 6 on the newer ones? Are there any more of those? Because I always hated that you only had 5 or 6 to choose from.
They didn't say anything about that, but at the top of the Action Center, they do have 5 different customizable buttons that you can do, like airplane mode, internet sharing, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi controls, all that type of stuff at the top of the Action Center, and that's customizable. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
But not the notifications on the lock screen.
Cool. Okay. Well, I mean, the progress. What else is happening in the Action Center? I know there's something else that sets it apart from its equivalent in Android and iOS.
Are you referring to something specific? Because that pretty much covered it as far as I knew.
Yeah, no, it's like detailed info on phone status. Oh, it's just you can there's dual SIM controls up there.
Yeah, if there's dual SIM controls. Yeah, there's that. I mean, aside from that, I mean, it was just something that was needed. It'll give you all the notifications from recent actions. It's pretty much on par with iOS and with Android, and that was pretty much the theme of yesterday. Was getting caught up. So now that you're officially there alongside everyone, so that was probably the most exciting part, was that we're not behind anymore.
Right.
You can turn off the banner notifications, and that's a good thing for me. I kind of get annoyed with banner notifications.
The toast notifications.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're called banners.
No, they're not. They've always been called toast notifications on Windows Phone.
In the notifications settings, it's called banners.
No, it's not. What are you talking about? Yeah, for what app? I don't have my 1020 my 1020 is playing music in the other room, so I can't use it.
I think they're called banners in iOS. I don't think they're called that in Windows Phone.
Yeah, they are. They're called banners in Notification Center for iOS, or in iOS and now in Windows Phone.
Okay, well,
it says it right there. It's screenshot straight out of Windows Phone 8.1.
Huh. All right. Well, then apparently we a bunch of amateurs.
Oh. Yeah.
You can apologize later. I understand.
I ain't going to do it.
No, I'll just go ahead and apologize now. Sorry.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So that's Action Center. That's going to be fun to kind of play around with, especially as screens get bigger. It's going to be more frustrating. But, hey, maybe someday we'll get the opportunity to move it to the left side of the screen where it should be.
There you go.
Yeah. So that aside, I think there's a much, much bigger improvement here. Let's talk about the lady.
Let's talk about the lady.
This is so cool.
This is very
cool. Or Jen Taylor. I don't know.
I just take a second to give Microsoft props. They could have done a half I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. But,
yeah, probably not. No.
They could have done a half job.
Actually, we are allowed to say that. I think that is like
haphazard is very clean. Actually,
okay.
Haphazard.
Haphazard. People know what I'm talking about. They could have done a bad job at it, but they didn't. I mean, they really knocked a lot of it out of the park, and a lot of it they brought up on par with Google Now and with Siri, and in a few different ways they surpassed both of those. Specifically, the part that really got my juices flowing was the third-party app integration. And I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but I did. During the demo, Joe Belfiore is on stage, and he's talking about how you can do third-party integration with Hulu Plus. And so he talks about this show that I don't watch that's on there somewhere. Anyway, he goes to Cortana, and he tells her, Hulu, add this show to my queue. And
right.
if you look down at the bottom, there is there's a thing down there that shows what you just said. It kind of
it's like the Google transcription that we're used to on Android. Yeah.
The text at the bottom of the screen did not say "add this to my queue." It said something that rhymed with it, like something "add this to something." But the fact that it's still launched Hulu and it still added that show to his queue is awesome.
Yeah, no. It's definitely cool, and some of the stuff is really cool to see in action. But I am a big fan of using voice input on Android, particularly on the Moto X, because of touchless control. And so I've seen a lot of this stuff before. So in a lot of ways, I think this is Microsoft certainly playing catch up. There was a very funny Tech Meme Heads headline yesterday that was, I don't know, I'll look it up. But does anybody else feel the same? Taylor, you wrote an editorial on Cortana. What's your feeling on this? I think your thoughts are this is a net positive.
Yeah, anything would have been better than what they had. Period. There's no way around that. Anything was better than what the voice search function of Windows Phone.
That is true. That was the worst.
If this were just a Siri mock-up or Siri copy, it would be fine. But this is more like Siri plus Google Now plus a few additional features. So it's actually a big win because Google Now, you can launch apps. You can launch apps with Siri, but you can't actually control those apps using voice input. So you can't do what Joe Belfiore showed off on stage. You can't say go to Netflix and add a show to your watch list, or Hulu or Amazon Prime or whatever you use. You can't.
You can't do that awesome thing where you're like, how did he phrase it? When you want to
Skype, get me this guy's name.
No, didn't he say like get me Brett on Skype? And then
he said Skype, get me Brett, whatever his name is, and that's all he said.
Okay.
Skype, get me this guy.
Yeah, and then it opened up Skype and dialed it out. I think that's so awesome.
Or Facebook, you're like, Facebook, what's up with, and then you say a name, and it pulls up their timeline.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think the key here is as long as you start it with that particular app, then it'll intelligently decide what you want to do within that app.
Right.
So
that's very context aware, but you have to tell it what you're doing first. Yeah.
Who just fell on their microphone?
I set my phone down on the table. Sorry.
Jeez. So, okay, this is hugely interesting because I wonder if Adam will go with me on this. That implementation has shades of like WebOS just type. That's almost what you were asking for, what you and I were both asking for in editorials about Cortana a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about with the, Epicurious pull up this recipe for quiche, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
So yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about, and that's
now I want quiche.
Awesome.
Yeah,
go back and read the editorial. You'll be making your own quiche by the end of the.
It is a fun string of hypotheticals in there.
There is a giant difference between Cortana and Google Now, though. And it's not just a third-party integration.
I think I know what you're going to say. What is it?
There are actually two. One is Cortana learns your relationships with people. So if you have a brother, a friend, mom, dad, all these people, it will learn these people and their relationship to you, and you can schedule different things or create reminders based on those people and when you contact them. So that was one of the coolest things to me when Joe Belfiore was showing it off on stage. He said, remind me to ask my sister about her puppy next time I talk to her. Maybe not in that exact phrasing, but it doesn't matter how she talks to him the next time, whether it's a call, text, or email, it will remind him to ask her about her puppy or to tell her something about her puppy.
I keep forgetting about that. That is boss. I mean, we've had reminders based on geofences. We've had reminders based on time for the longest time. But having reminders based on when you contact someone, I'm sure a third-party app has done it. I mean, but I've never entered my consciousness.
I was actually talking about this on Untethered a few minutes ago. There was an app I used when I used BlackBerry way back in the day. I'm talking like 2005, 2006. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a contact management system. And what it would do is it would remind you to talk to people based on different time frames or time elapsed since you last talked to them. Huh. So if you had talked to my mom or like contact my mom every 2 days or every 6 hours, or if I haven't talked to my mom in a month, let me call, like remind me to call her. And maybe not that long, but it would do that. You couldn't base reminders like any kind of context to it, but it would keep you on schedule with talking to people. And I really, really have missed that app ever since I used it. And that's really in line with this.
I don't remember. Was this a WebOS thing? But I swear to God, I remember seeing something like that. Like, next time I contact so-and-so, remind me to do this. I swear to God, there was something.
That sounds
maybe
like
WebOS.
What was the name of that? The head of the investment firm that was kind of propping up Palm for a while there. The guy with the long hair who was also in a rock band.
Lost me.
No, someone out there knows. Leave in the comments, somebody, please. But it sounds like it's one of those things that was really part of the big overpromise package before, in the 6 months leading up to the Pre's release. It was like, remember, this has a GPS and a clock and a calendar. So if you're running late if you're hanging around your house and you're supposed to get to a meeting, your phone can be like, hey, it's time to leave. And it was a conversation in 2009 about what we ultimately have now with Google Now in 2014, but WebOS didn't bring it to us.
Right, but I mean, even in Google Now, I can tell Google Now to text my wife, and it knows who my wife is.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, I mean, there is some type of awareness there, but maybe not as deep.
It knows based on your contact information.
Okay.
So if you put in wife in any field in your wife's contact information, that's how it knows it's your wife.
Yeah.
Or based on learning. It doesn't learn based on how you talk to them.
And speaking of learning from info on the device, I think it's pretty cool that Cortana, and we kind of have to dig a little deeper on this to see how true it is, but Microsoft seemed to make the distinction between Cortana and Google Now in terms of info gathering.
Hello, Moto X.
Hi, Moto X. No, I don't need you.
What's up?
I'm going to put you over here. Okay. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Whereas Google Now gathers all its information that it has on you based on your cloud interactions and what it knows of you from your Google interactions in the cloud. Wow.
Right.
Good sentence.
Yeah.
The Cortana seems to gather all that info from the device, so it's it learns what you want it to learn based on what you put into the device and what you allow the notebook access to, and I think that's pretty cool. I think that's going to be fairly popular with privacy, with people for whom privacy is a priority.
Not to mention, well in line with the Scroogled campaign, which we're not going to talk about ever again.
Yeah, let's forget about that.
You can do a lot of that in Google Now, but what Cortana offers is much more granular and specific. You can personalize it to you much more than you can with Google Now. Google Now is more like, yes or no, I want this or I don't. And this, you can manually add different things to what you want to know about in the notebook.
It seems like it's one of those things where, a product demo looks great on stage. We'll see how it actually performs in real life. But for now, there's enough to be excited.
Yeah. And
there's a big question, and it's where it's not based on your internet activity, but based on your phone activity.
Right. So if you are a person who splits his workload between phone, tablet, and computer, Cortana is going to learn about a tenth as quickly as Google Now would if you were setting them both up at the same time, which is frustrating.
If you don't use Hotmail.
Right.
Yes.
Or Outlook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I miss something in the description? Does it still carry over between devices? Now, I know that it sends that information to Cortana, the service. So the way Joe Belfiore explained it is that it takes like emails and text conversations and phone calls and your Google or your Bing searches from your phone and sends those from Cortana on the phone to Cortana, the service. But that's really all he said. He didn't say, from what I heard, anything about if you get rid of this phone in 2 years and go to another phone, do you have to start over?
You probably don't. I can't imagine that.
That would be a very naive move, but
Yeah.
he didn't clarify, so that's a big if. I don't know, and that's a big reservation for me.
And we'll figure that out as we go forward and actually use the thing. The developer preview is going to come out next week. We're going to have some hands-on time with it in New York. We're not at Build, by the way. We should have probably said that. We're not at Build. We're covering it remotely. By the way, we did not get an Xbox One or a $500 gift card to the Microsoft Store, and now I'm sad that we didn't go. I've been sad that we didn't go the whole
Mary
time.
Jo Foley said that specifically was not pressed. That was only for
I was
paid
just going to
attendees.
say. I was going to say if they're dumping that on press, then they're going to have a lot of press people saying, "I would love to take that. I can't take that because we have an ethics policy." So anyway.
Right.
But before we get away from Cortana, I want to mention two things. One, speaking of the onstage demo, they showed a video of Cortana basically coming to life, which I thought was a really cool thing. This was a pretty tight presentation. Like Joe Belfiore was out there, he was talking. Then he's like, "And here's Cortana. I'm going to introduce you." He walks off stage. This video plays of Cortana basically absorbing the entire internet and then very, very creepily learning about you. And then the lights come back up, and Joe Belfiore is back on stage with a different T-shirt on. He's got a Cortana T-shirt on. Like
I want one of those T-shirts.
So do I.
bad.
I would definitely buy one of
too.
those. So, but it was a very tight presentation. It worked very well, and it was very creepy, but it was creepy in a cool way. It was creepy in exactly the way that Cortana should be creepy, because Halo in itself is kind of a creepy world. But
Can we just call Cortana the bloody baby from now on?
oh God, right? There were some graphic birth scenes in that video, and like with like camera dwelling on stuff. But anyway, it doesn't matter. She wakes up. She says, "Hi, I'm Cortana," in the Jen Taylor voice, because you know that's Jen Taylor. You know her voice from the game and such, and it's wonderful.
Right.
And sadly, then throughout the probably half-hour product demo that follows, we don't really hear much of the authentic Cortana voice. We hear that stock Siri / Google Now / Airport Lady voice that we hear everywhere else.
It's like,
Hi,
hello, Michael. How
can
are you?
How can I help you? Yeah.
But it's not stitched together very well, so it's like,
Right.
Yes,
on
Michael.
August 1st, I will bring you cupcakes. Yeah, it's that kind of...
It's still a beta, come on.
And that's the thing. So it is still a beta, and then Jen Taylor tweeted something. And Taylor, by the way, you have to fix the alignment on this widget because it broke itself.
Oh,
yeah, it
hate-
always does that, I know.
I hate Twitter embeds so much.
It's iframe embeds, really. But Jen Taylor tweeted, "Yep, it's me, mixed in with some cool Microsoft fanciness." And then she said, "We've got some recording to do." And she tweeted this the day of the announcement. So I think this recording is a continuous process.
I'm sure it is.
And
I'm sure they're still recording the Siri lady.
Oh, yeah. And also, I should mention that, and we mentioned on the show before, but Adam wasn't here, that we were trying to get Jen Taylor on the Pocketnow Weekly, but apparently she's behind a pretty airtight NDA from Microsoft, according to her agent. So
I heard about that. Just because I'm not on doesn't mean I don't listen. Come on.
Oh, well, then we got to stop talking all that smack about you when you're not on the air.
Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to mention that, by the way.
Yeah. No. So anyway, that's that. That's Cortana. I'm excited to try her out. I think that's going to be so much fun. I will not stop referring to these various assistants by gender. So if a male assistant comes out, I'm going to call it him. That's just, I like doing
what
it.
is Google Now?
Google Now is definitely an it. Like, it has no personality whatsoever.
I'm okay with that.
I'm not okay. I don't like that. I want a personality.
I'm a strictly business kind of person.
That's why you're so boring. Hey.
I'm not boring. That's why you have me on the podcast every week.
Yay, it's true. We're very fun. Hey, we have
That because you have
Wait.
to do.
Can we answer a Twitter question from yesterday, Michael?
Yeah, like when are we finally going to throw down?
When are we going to brawl?
Oh, it's funny.
After the podcast, Outback, you and me.
Outback behind the Outback Steakhouse.
Oh, Yeah, Outback, behind the Outback.
Outback
What
behind
about that decrepit Hooters that you podcasted from at one time?
That's a good idea. I'm going to go back there someday soon and podcast again from that. That was just fun.
What about the Hooters in Las Vegas? That was fun too.
That was also fun. We've been to too many Hooters.
Some really attractive waitresses. Just saying.
Well, that's why we went with Tony. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so the point is, we have a big Windows section, and I think Adam Dowd's got about 10 minutes left. So
give or take.
Let's plow through it. Fortunately, the news gets thinner as we go on. The Windows Phone 8.1 update is slated for the coming weeks. The developer preview is, and then it'll roll out. When Nokia rolls it out, it'll be under a different banner, as is typically the case. They're calling it, this time, Lumia Cyan, which, guys... You're only allowed
politically sound.
Oh, right, because the first one was amber, the second one was black, the third one is cyan. Okay.
Indeed.
Wow, I actually didn't realize they were alphabetically organized until just now. Thank you, Adam.
I didn't either until I read Stephen's article.
Oh,
so what is D going to be?
Like dandelion or something. But
denim.
Yes. Oh, it should be denim. That would be awesome.
It's denim with parentheses acid washed parentheses.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but the thing is, it's going to wrap in some other enhancements, which I believe are mainly confined to the camera. But hold on, I was going to complain about this. Oh, and Creative Studio too. I was going to complain about this because you can't call a frickin' update Cyan, Nokia, if you're going to stop offering phones in Cyan. That's just frickin' mean.
Why do you think they stopped offering the phone in Cyan? They didn't want people to get nervous. Or not nervous, confused.
Excited, confused, whatever it is. I'm just mad now. Don't get me wrong, I like my Lumia in yellow, it's fine, but I would always much prefer Cyan.
I still hate you for talking me into yellow on that 1020.
What, you wanted to go with the boring old black and be even more dull?
Yes.
Lame.
If I want to be dull, that's my own prerogative.
It is your business, but not on this show. You're going to take some crap for it on the weekly. So anyway, Cyan includes the camera enhancements and Creative Studio improvements, which also brings this kind of this thing that everyone's doing now. BlackBerry does it. Obviously, HTC does it with video highlights. This ability to create a really cool slideshow with your content set to music. I think HTC's got this cornered, though.
Yeah,
Zoe
those are
highlights.
bad. In a good way.
Yeah, they're like bad ace. Yeah.
Except for I hate the gallery.
You don't like the gallery?
You love it. I hate the gallery because I always tap the top preview for that album based on the time or the location.
Oh no,
and
that's the
I'm looking at it.
reel,
I'm like
man.
showing someone a picture, and then it switches to a different filter. I'm like, what is it? I'm looking at the album preview.
Well, you just got to get used to it. The gallery's alive.
I don't like it. I like the Photos app.
You treat it like a snake. I don't like the Photos app at all. I think that's really whack.
This is why we're good friends.
Yeah,
we hate all the same.
Can I talk
all the different things?
Let me tell you guys something. Now, I've recently come into possession of many Star Trek models, Starship models, and I have been photographing them with my Lumia 1020 and a tripod at night on my porch because I am the most popular kid in school, obviously. And
it's just so sad.
Shut up. I'm having a great time and you leave me alone. And the thing is, I've been using two of the most capable photo editors I've ever used on a smartphone, and they're on Windows Phone. Photor, F-O-T-O-R, and Fantasia Painter.
You've definitely never used Photoshop Touch, just saying.
Actually, I have. That was one of the first videos I did for Pocketnow, and I don't... Yeah, that's capable in a way that's like, yes, I see that professionals use this, and therefore it's kind of dry and dull, even though you can do a lot with it. These two apps that I'm talking about are not only very powerful, but they're extremely beautiful. And they're so much fun to use. I could sit there for hours just playing with the different... Oh, my God. So anyway, you should check them out on my Instagram. I'm pimping my Instagram.
I will download those apps as soon as I switch back to the Lumia.
Captain Two Phones. Hey, why don't you tell us, Adam, you are switching back to the Lumia? What's your story? You're leaving the Nexus 5? Adam Dowd was on Windows Phone for a long time, folks, and then he switched to a Nexus 5, and I still don't know why, even though I'm pretty sure I've asked him about it before.
Okay, well, I'll give you the short version of that. When my day job of 8 years decided to outsource and move out of the country, I got a very nice severance package because I'd been there for 8 years. And the one thing that I bought with the severance package, the one frivolous thing after paying bills and whatever, was I wanted to buy a phone. So I decided to get a Nexus 5. And so this is I'm carrying this phone because it's my one justification for actually pouring 8 years of my life into that junk hole of a company. So that's why I have the Nexus 5.
Good for you, man. A phone is a good gift to get for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm using it as a daily driver, to put it through its paces, to just kind of, get a feel for the stock Android feel so that I can, know and write intelligently about it. That's all. So I'll go back to the Lumia probably somewhere around May, June, maybe sooner if 8.1 comes out before that. But, I'm definitely not abandoning Windows Phone. This is just kind of broadening my horizons, that's all.
Let me tell you a secret. When you go back to Windows Phone, regardless of whether 8.1 is on it or Cyan is on it or not, you will it'll feel pretty good. Because I left my 1020 rather sadly neglected for about, I got to say, probably about 2 or 3 months because of review devices and such.
Sure.
And it was probably 2 months because I had it on New Year's. And going back to it has been wonderful. Windows Phone is something special for all the holes that it needs filled, and
a lot of which will be filled in a couple of months.
Yeah, for all that, and for all the, for all the crap we put up with on the Windows Phone front, it's such a fun
boy, do we
time.
put up with crap.
We do, because it's funny because we're at the point where we've gotten a lot of the titles now, and I'm really not left wanting for many apps on Windows Phone, but every time I hop into the Twitter app and it's still doing that thing where I haven't used it in a week, so I have to spend 6 minutes pulling to refresh on my mentions just to get to the top. It's still doing all this crap that the other Twitter apps stopped doing months and months and months and months ago. And that's for everything. Like the Instagram app is kind of crap, but we have it, so I still have to be thankful for that. And it's like, it's a weird.
I think the Twitter thing is only a problem if you have 12,000 followers. I don't have that problem.
No, it's just I just talk too much, and then I engage with people.
You do talk too much.
I do talk too much. Hey, let's talk about new devices, guys. Nokia has announced the 3 new devices, one of which is somewhat interesting if you do not live in the United States. That's the Nokia Lumia 930, which is basically the Lumia icon, but there are a couple differences. And I don't know what all of them are off the top of my head. I just know one of them. Do you know what I'm going to say, Adam?
I do not.
And Taylor, tell me if the icon has this, because I don't think it does. The 930 comes with 4 microphones for video recording and the best stereo video recording you can imagine.
Yes.
And the icon does not have that, right?
No, it does.
It does?
Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah, they
has 4 microphones.
about the microphone.
Man, I really wish the review had turned out better.
The review video? Yeah, well, that's why you recorded the review. The review.
Everybody hated the song I picked, but
you know my favorite comment about that song was?
I'm not even. I want to kill myself now or something.
Yeah, that song makes me want to commit suicide. Yeah,
yeah. It's just like a chill song. Like, I like music like that. Sorry, it'll never happen again.
Don't get me wrong. I don't mind music like that. I just for that review.
I wanted to use something different, and I've been through all of IB Audio's music, and I'm done with all the other stuff.
IBaudio.com.
Did either of you see the picture that I put up on Twitter yesterday when the 930 was announced? Engadget had a press render of the 930, and I looked at it, and I'm just like, that looks like an iPhone. And so I went back and I pulled up an old press render from an iPhone 4 with Tim Cook standing in front of it, and sure enough, they're practically the same thing. And my boss was walking by behind my computer, and he's just like, what the hell's that? I'm like, right?
Really?
So anyway, I don't know if you guys saw that. I'll post it again, but
no, I'm like looking for it now. The podcast is grinding to a halt as I look for this tweet.
Oh
no. But yeah, that's why I decided to record the audio for the icon video using the icon. The raw audio sounded really good, and then when I put it through Final Cut, for whatever reason, the codec that it recorded into, there was a bug that Final Cut just could not handle that audio, and it clipped the whole entire audio clip was just pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, that's but that was Final Cut's fault. It wasn't the phone's fault.
It wasn't the phone's fault. It wasn't my fault. It was Final Cut's fault. And it was a Friday night. I remember I worked until 4 a.m. on that video.
I remember you doing it.
And I could have probably I probably could have just recorded the audio again, but I just really wanted to do what I could with that. And then I was done with it. So.
Yes, this press photo that Adam found of the that was on Engadget is really cool. Is this how the 930 is? Because the icon bezel was the same color as the face, at least on the black one.
Yeah. The icon was black, if I remember correctly, and this is much more silvery.
This one has a black face, but the bezel is all silver, and it does look like an iPhone 4, but it looks like a way better looking iPhone 4, or maybe not. It depends on what you like. It looks like a more modern iPhone 4. I don't want to say better, because the iPhone 4 I think is still rather gorgeous. But
the backside of that phone, though, I love the icon. I love the icon and its design and build, and I love just about everything about it, except for I can't get Google Plus on it.
except for I can't get that Google Plus, but that backside makes up for it.
I think it'll make its way to America. I hope it does, because I wouldn't mind.
The 930?
I would hope so.
Well, I mean, can't you just? I don't know if I tested this when I had it because my memory is shot, but can't you just toss another SIM card into the icon and use it? Doesn't it have the radios for that?
I don't know.
Probably. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
But I'm actually using my Verizon iPhone on T-Mobile right now with 4G. So it's very likely that's how a lot of more recent Verizon phones have been.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, I mean, the icon is solid. I didn't want to send it back. I was actually really sad when we had to send that back.
Right. Like, I really like that phone.
Me too. And I didn't expect to like it because I didn't like the 928 was like, whatever. But anyway,
like you didn't believe me when I said the Lumia icon was the best Windows phone yet. You did not believe me.
I was like, what? No.
You thought that I was just picking some kind of clickbaity title and going with it, and no, I was serious.
Yeah, I
was.
But
SRS.
Dead sirs. Let's see. The Lumia 630 and 635 were also announced. These are low end, but they're low end with larger displays, 4.5-inch displays. Changeable colors because you can swap the shells, and finally a dual SIM device at this size and price point.
I hate.
Awesome.
Can I say that I hate when people use QHD for 2K? Oh my gosh! Like I was reading the headline. I didn't have a chance to read this article, but I was reading the headline. Nokia Lumia 1820 rumors show a QHD display and Snapdragon 805, and I'm like, Snapdragon 805, good. QHD, what?
All right, so I guess
I always have to remember that
it's uppercase Q, not lowercase q. Yes. So this is, I guess we're talking about this phone now.
Yes, we are.
We were just talking about something really boring, and now we're talking about something that could be really awesome.
Moving along.
The Lumia 1820. Thank you for keeping us on point, Taylor Martin.
Yes.
Show QHD display, Snapdragon 805, 2 gigs of RAM. This is all from, where's this from? GSM Arena reported on this, but this is from GFX Bench. I guess this is a benchmark report for a device with not only Snapdragon 805, but do all of the 805s come with this Adreno 420 graphics?
No, they do not. Most of them come with the 330.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So, we don't know much about this unless we know something that I don't. I guess I'll just say I don't know much about this Qualcomm Liquid L.
Such a nub.
Lowercase I. Very interesting. Yes, indeed, that's me. But this looks like a pretty potent feature set. And anytime I see a Windows phone that has a really solid GPU, I'm really excited because, man, the camera app is pretty heavy, and it really needs those 2 gigs of RAM, and it also, I imagine, can benefit rather severely from having a powerful GPU.
It would make more sense for Windows Phone to have more powerful GPUs if they had better games.
The
game selection is kind of sparse.
It's kind of weak, yeah.
A little bit on the weak side.
Yeah. But 5.2-inch QHD, uppercase Q HD display, which I guess is what we're calling 2K, yeah. And, all right.
It's quad HD is what it is instead of quarter HD. Quarter is lowercase, quad is
Yeah. See, this is very exciting to me because the 1520 is not something I would ever buy from it. It's just too massive. But
yes, it's a boat.
Yes, but seeing Joe Belfiore use his red one on stage yesterday just confirmed that, or reconfirmed that for me. It's just like carrying around a diving board. You can't do it. But something the size of the Icon would be very compelling for me once I decide to get rid of this thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think about? I just want to hear your thoughts on the replacement for the 1020, which will doubtless come at some point in the fall. I mean, do you think they're going to be able to eliminate that bump while keeping the true PureView 41 megapixel machinery?
I wouldn't mind seeing them. Well, people will hate me for this. I wouldn't mind seeing them use the Icon's camera and just improving things like OIS and nighttime shots. Just improve what you have rather than try to build on the hardware. Like improve the software aspect of it. Well, because I don't want more than 41 megapixels. I'm saying I want that crater to be a little more subtle. But I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I get the sense that 20 megapixels is pretty much where Nokia is going to be going forward because that seems to be where they're hanging their hat these days. And I don't know that. And Tony actually said this last summer, I think, where he said we probably won't ever see another 41 megapixel camera coming out of Nokia. This was probably more of a proof of concept than anything.
No, I don't agree with that at all. You don't
agree with that?
No, because look at the 20 megapixel space. Let's take everything we talked about last week about megapixels not really mattering and throw it out for a second and just direct our thinking at those consumers who only see the spec sheet, and there are a lot of them, and they're annoying, but they exist. Who else has 20 megapixel sensors? Sony. And Sony's pushing them hard. And Samsung's going to have them after this generation, after this Galaxy S5 goes away.
Most likely.
Yeah. So, and there are other manufacturers we're not remembering right now who are doing it. So 20 is not the rarefied space that 41 is. That is still a compelling differentiator just on the spec sheet alone. And with that, you can really push the zoom angle, the lossless digital zoom. And you can, they're higher quality shots, I think, than the one in the 1520. So I really think we're going to see a successor to the 1020 that has a 41 megapixel sensor in it.
It would be nice. I mean, it would be nice. I don't think they're going to get rid of it, but
it would make sense for Nokia to keep pushing an absurd camera in at least its flagship line.
Yeah.
Like it's had all these auxiliary lineups and phones with 20 megapixel cameras. So now, you've got this one little niche where you have a 41 megapixel camera. That makes the most sense. But what I'm saying is I would rather them take the 20 megapixels, maybe even increase the sensor size of a 20 megapixel camera, even if it has the same size bump as what you see in the 1520. And that's much more, much easier to deal with than that giant Oreo on the back.
Yeah.
But I would rather see that personally. I know a lot of people would disagree with that. But there's no question the 1020's camera is far beyond that of its competition. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and put that in our back pocket because I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about the 1820 quite a bit as we get more info, assuming it is real. I am certain we'll be talking more about the closing of the Microsoft acquisition. Finally, we're really due for this. I think we finally got Chinese regulatory approval, or if we didn't, then it's coming. So we should be talking about that next. But to close out this category with hardware, we'll talk about the lone bit of news. Oh, this is not in the rundown, but just as an aside, Joe Belfiore also announced 2 additional hardware partners for Windows Phone yesterday. Does anybody remember what they're called? There's Micromax, of course, and Prestigio is the other one.
Yeah, I think those are both actually in Steven's article, too.
Oh, they probably are, yeah. And Joe Belfiore had some kind of preliminary hardware from both of them, and, each piece of hardware was running Windows Phone 8.1, but all we saw was that they were rectangles running Windows Phone 8.1. I can't tell you anything about the hardware. It just these are going to be. They're assembling quite the portfolio of hardware manufacturers. I mean, a lot of them are names we haven't heard before in this hemisphere. But hey,
But maybe we will now.
Yeah, maybe we will now. But this final big rumor is from Samsung. The ATIV SE continues to be rumored. The ATIV S, the device that failed to set the world on fire in the Windows Phone space.
I don't want to set the world on fire.
Could you never do that again? That'd be great.
Could you always do that on every show, please? Yes. I feel like I'm inside an early 20th century gramophone.
I feel like I'm inside Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So, my friend was a voice in Fallout, or not in Fallout, in BioShock Infinite.
That's not even remotely close to Fallout.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. But anyway, the ATIV SE, yeah, she cool. The ATIV SE is rumored to have a Snapdragon 800. That would make sense. 2 gigs of RAM, 13 megapixel main camera, and a micro SD expansion. 1080p display. It looks like
and TouchWiz.
A build.
And TouchWiz. You skipped over the one spec, though, that is like the major hang-up here. And according to the article by Steven, could top out at 16 gigabytes of storage space on the phone.
Yeah, but who cares? If you got a micro SD card, who cares?
Yeah.
Wow, we're not going to have that argument again, are we?
Yeah, I guess we're not. But the one thing that I do care about that is not mentioned in the article is, okay, so everyone is like, yeah, the ATIV S was the Galaxy S3 for Windows Phone. Is this supposed to be the Galaxy S4 for Windows Phone, or what? Or did we miss that one? Was that so unremarkable that it passed and I didn't know? No, it didn't. Because we had the ATIV and then the ATIV S Neo or whatever for Sprint, and the ATIV something else for Verizon. It's sitting right in front of me. The ATIV Odyssey for Verizon. And
well, I mean, looking at the spec sheet, it kind of looks like an S4.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I want to see, I don't want to see that. I don't care about that. What I want to see is a Windows Phone version of the S5, not because of the golf ball back or anything like that, but because it's frickin' immersion resistant.
Give it a year.
Yeah, but let's not wait that long. You know what?
Samsung ATIV SE Active.
Yeah. Well, I don't care what you call it. If you bring me
such a terrible name,
a Windows Phone that is like immersion resistant. Am I overlooking something, guys? Is there one that's out there? I know that Huawei has a couple, and there's a couple for the Japanese market or the South Korean market. I don't remember. Anyway, we need active Windows phones. And
absolutely,
we need those soon. I think Adam Dowd has to leave us to get back to his other revenue stream generating occupation. Yes?
Day job, but sure.
Adam, before you go, please tell everyone on the internet where they can find you so that you can speak with them in cyberspace.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dead Technology, just spelled exactly how it sounds, no spaces and no funky K's where there should be C's or anything like that. No, Dead Technology at Twitter and Instagram if you really want to follow me on Instagram. Twitter's pretty much your best bet.
Adam, thank you for joining us. You are a delight.
Thank you for having me, and you are it's not
fancy.
Too bad.
Just call me fancy, and we'll be done with it.
You're fancy. All right, I'm going to take my high-heeled shoes and get out of here.
All right. Good day to you, sir. Thanks again.
Peace out.
So, seems to be just you and me, Taylor Martin.
You and me and you. I don't know if you're pausing here, but I will say that
I'm
good.
Not. We're just pressing on. What?
You said something about an article that Stephen wrote, and then it forced me to go to Pocketnow.com, and then I saw your Moto X durability report.
Yeah,
and
what about it?
First, there are two things. First, I was going to say, wow, you really like saturation.
Oh, in that title image? Yeah, I really bumped that up. I like to catch some eyeballs. I like that 500-point font, too. You like that?
Yeah. Second thing, and this is just an observation that I've had with the 1M8, when I pick it up, I expect a dimple on the back.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't know why that is. I mean, I don't feel that when I use the Nexus 5 or when I use another phone, but I think it's just the curvature of the back and the shape of it.
The curvature of the back, that's exactly it. I think the curvature of the back and the thin edges make you feel like...
It makes me feel like I'm using like a metal, or not metal M8, a metal Moto X.
What if
just bigger.
What if the Moto X2 was aluminum with a dimple? Oh, God. That would be hot.
I would swoon, but geez, just fix the camera. Just fix the camera.
I mean, either way you go. I mean, you could, I don't know. It's, yeah. Smartphone guessing game. I cannot wait to do the next episode. I don't even know what device I'm going to use for it, but it's going to be fun.
I have a good idea.
I just saw a 1 Max in the wild the other day.
I did too.
Really?
Actually, yesterday, yes.
No kidding.
Yeah, I did. Kevlar back and all.
A Kevlar back on the 1 Max? You're talking about a Droid Max?
I'm thinking of Droid Max.
Oh, no, I saw a 1 Max the other day.
I hear Max.
Like, it had a case on it, so I'm walking by this chick in the Dunkin' Donuts, and she's looking at this phone that's just massive. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I see through the holes in her green case, her, like, silicone case, that they're a BoomSound. And I'm like, oh, it's the 1 Max. Wow, that thing is huge.
The BoomSound on the M8 is so nice.
Yeah.
So good.
It's
so good.
It's awesome. It's best in class.
A random non-techie at the coffee shop was asking me about the phone, and I was like, but check this out. And I played some music and audio, and they were just like, whoa, that's good. I'm like, yes, it is. And my roommate is an audiophile, and he's just like, that's amazing for a phone. Like, jeez,
it's crazy. You can't find anything better. And man, yeah,
it's good.
It's real good.
But there's a downside, and you may have noted this last year with the original.
Well, let me sound
the M7.
Let me sound the bong bong before you do the downside. We're already talking about it. So let's talk about Android.
So there is a downside to BoomSound, and maybe you noted this last year with the M7, but now that I have the M8 and I'm actually using it, I didn't use the M7 much. I didn't really review it or anything. I just used it from time to time. And opening a game or forgetting that your volume is turned up and you get a phone call or anything. Like I opened up Roid Rage and it's just like, bam, bam, it's just sort of right in my face. And I'm like, oh my God.
You want to be careful about that. Also, if you use the trick of just bringing the phone to your ear to answer it and letting it auto-detect an answer, it's not always quick on the draw with that. Sometimes it takes a second. And if that second is spent with a ringtone, like a BoomSound speaker blaring into your ear, it's it ain't too much fun. But those are sacrifices that I'm okay with. Listeners, we've been talking about Android well before the bong bong and the time code. Oh, hey, you playing some tunes?
This is Roid Rage. It's just really quickly.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I don't like the Mario coin sound. That's very piercing. It disrupts my experience. You know what I want to play on the M8? I want to play The Room 2, which I still have not managed to play.
What?
The Room 2.
Oh, I've never played any of the rooms.
I highly recommend it to you.
The room
friend.
or the...
I ain't never walked in them rooms. But I will tell you this, friend. The M8 would be excellent for it, and it will also be excellent for Voxer, which is, listeners, a PTT solution, a push-to-talk solution that we're going to be trying out around the office. And BoomSound mated to that is almost as cool as BoomSound on a Windows phone. And it would be great if the 1M8 ran Windows Phone. But that's not what I'm going to talk about because I'm not actually very proud of that editorial, so I'm not even linking to it. But you can find it if you want. I think it's total. I think it's. You ever publish a piece that you hate?
And I was
really hated it.
Michael.
Yeah, I did not want. It's a cool idea. I just didn't do it justice. But anyway, point is, the 1M8 review has been up at Pocketnow for a while, ever since the announcement, but we have updated it with a bunch of stuff. We have a new section down at the bottom called More on the 1M8 from Pocketnow, which links to an article about how to make BlinkFeed work for you, our special edition Pocketnow Weekly review podcast with Nick Gray and Ryan Bader of HTC Source and Mobile Syrup, respectively.
Ryan.
What did I say? Daniel Bader?
You said Ryan.
Oh, God. Sorry, Daniel. I don't know why I did that. The 1M8 camera is awesome or not awesome. You decide. A link to that. And a link to the most recent story, which I think is extreme power saving, which turns the HTC 1M8 into a cameraless dumb phone that lasts for days.
Which I don't have.
Yeah, because you have the older software that the carriers are still sitting on before they release. Yeah.
Also, we should update that tomorrow with the piece that I'm pushing live.
You feel free. If you want to get it going and drop another link in there, please do. That'd be great.
Yeah, because we're doing if you guys recall from the 1020, we did a piece where we posted our favorite pictures that we took, and I am going to go take part of my afternoon to try and take the best pictures I can possibly take with the M8. So not just, like when we take pictures for reviews, we just kind of snap pictures to see how it works in a standard setting that most people would use the phone in, right? That's what I do.
Well,
Is
yeah,
that what you do, Michael?
I do, unless the phone is specifically called out for a particular, to be good in a particular setting. Like, I mean, I spent a lot of time in low light with the One and with the Lumias and such.
Right. Well, the reason I do that now is because with my first review for Pocketnow, Brandon kind of got a little angry with, not really angry, he just fussed at me a little bit over going out of my way to take the best pictures possible with the camera on the phone rather than just using it in different settings and trying to test and see where it falls short in a normal, like a general consumer setting. So I'm going out of my way to take the best pictures I could possibly take with M8 for a piece tomorrow and use some of yours as well.
Good, yeah, because I sent you some that are fun. Use the Bird of Prey one. I'm really proud of that one.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
You got to use it. It's a great shot.
All right.
I take awesome photos. Anyway, so I was hoping Stephen would be here to talk about this a little bit. It doesn't look like he's going to join us. He might join us in a second. But HTC's been busted for benchmark steroids, right? Do you know about the story here? And speaking of undesirable things, there's a person with a very powerful stereo system outside my window right now. So even the sound booth can't protect against this bass level. Can you hear that?
No, I can't. Nope, I don't hear anything.
It's like vibrating with the sound booth. Like the one of the tripods is actually moving.
Wow.
So can you tell us about this? What is HTC doing here? Is it the same exact thing Samsung was doing with its benchmark optimization?
Yeah, so basically when it realizes that you're in a benchmarking app, it turns everything to 11 and tries to outperform the competition, even though we know that benchmarks really don't amount to that much in real world. Hello, Stephen Shank.
We have the guy who wrote the story here. Hey, Stephen, welcome to the Pocketnow Weekly.
Oh, I'm doing that now, weekly? That's cool.
I know. Every week we do a podcast.
Wow.
So Stephen Shank, chief news editor, is here just in time to tell us about the thing we were trying to fake our way through.
What are you throwing me into here?
The story about the HTC benchmarks. Tell us how similar this is to when Samsung got busted doing the same thing. And why HTC doesn't seem to have any trouble fessing up to it and even seeming to be proud of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure what you guys have said already here.
Nothing.
But,
nothing of worth.
Okay. So Samsung was caught red-handed last year, tweaking their benchmark scores so that the phones looked like they performed better on standardized benchmark tests than they'd normally be performing otherwise. Web browsing, gaming, that sort of thing. And the key to identifying this as something nefarious going on, rather than just benchmarks are supposed to push the phone really hard, right? Is that it was uncovered that these the effects that were happening here, which I think it was GPU overclocking, as well as activating all the cores at once rather than letting the battery saver mode do its own thing. Mm-hmm. It was only being triggered when specific APKs were being run. So there was this list hard-coded in the phone that it was matching against known benchmark apps, and only when those ones popped up, it decided to send its processors into overdrive.
Wow.
So that's what Samsung was doing. It's very hard to explain your way around that when it's just specific benchmarks apps triggering this crap.
Right. I remember.
Yeah, and that is exactly what Samsung was doing, if I recall.
Yeah. So the HTC
except for
One
Samsung was like, yeah, we're sorry. HTC's like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. And look how well we're doing it.
Yeah, and to its credit, it has, I think, a little better explanation going on for why this might be okay. So, yes, HTC is doing very much the same thing. It's identifying when benchmark apps are being run, and when that happens, it's dialing everything on up, power savings be damned. The key bit here, though, is that there is a setting buried in the developer menu. It's not on all the One M8s just yet. I think HTC mentioned it's not in the American ones, but internationally it's there. And when you activate this mode, it does this high-powered, benchmark killing performance stuff all the time. So you can enjoy this on your, very processor-demanding games and media playback. You're trying to play 4K stuff for some reason. So it can do this all the time. So that's kind of cool, as long as the benchmark will give you an accurate number if you have that mode engaged. It's going to kill your battery in the process, but that's what you get for high performance. Mm-hmm. The only issue is that there's no easy way to benchmark the phone without this mode engaged. That's to say, well, okay, I don't want to kill my battery. I just want the normal conservative power saving mode engaged all the time. But unless you rename one of these benchmark APKs to have a different name, it's going to still do the quote-unquote cheating mode anytime you run the benchmark. So you really don't know how your phone will perform with the power-saving stuff activated.
Which ultimately defeats the purpose of a benchmark, right? Is to have a level playing field for everybody.
Can I say that I'm okay with this from HTC?
Sure.
And there's a reason.
Why is that?
I'm less... Okay, not okay with. I'm less upset with HTC doing this because from what I've noticed with the One is that it doesn't lag, it doesn't stutter. It's just solid performance anyway.
It's almost impossible to get it to stutter.
A very small difference between these two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It would have been nice.
With the S4, that was a totally different story. Yeah, that was Lagfest 101. And that's where it really irks me, is that Samsung's like, yeah, our phone performs this well. Yeah, maybe if TouchWiz isn't in the equation, but TouchWiz is in the equation, and that is a problem.
The only thing that irks me, and I think that HTC could have done better, is if instead of doing all this optimization behind closed doors, it could, when you run a benchmark app and identifies it, the phone could pop up a window. Hey, we noticed you're running a benchmark. Do you want the phone to be performing at its best, or do you want it to keep on running with the power-saving stuff? And at least let you know that there's going to be a difference there.
Yeah, I think that would be a very nice middle ground. Exactly.
That would be nice.
You can't go wrong.
Transparency is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But because regardless of the justifications we're throwing around here, regardless of what you think about it personally, benchmark developers, the people who administer benchmarks, don't dig this. And so, and I believe this is still accurate, the 3D Mark folks have struck the HTC One M8 from the results list. Is that right?
I had not heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You go to all this effort to craft benchmarks that are designed to... It's not just like the old days where you could do a simple, how many floating point operations per second. You're just running some very complicated math equation over and over. Now they're simulating, graphic performance like in games, I/O stuff, things that actually... You're measuring things that actually matter in real-world phone usage. Whether or not the benchmark presents an accurate assessment of real-world usage as a result of that's a different story, but that's what these developers are trying to do. And HTC and Samsung companies like that are just making it a little bit more difficult for the benchmarks to be as useful as the devs would like them to be.
Yeah, I saw this at Hot Hardware was reporting on this, and FutureMark is aware of HTC's stance on the matter but doesn't like the explanation. According to FutureMark, HTC's viewpoint that benchmarks look to determine max performance of core parts is a common misconception. The purpose of 3D Mark is to measure real-world performance, the company counters. Yeah. So
I do get that. If you pull it up, 3D Mark from the HTC One M8, it says, "Mystery machine, we don't recognize this device. Your device list data might be old. Please try restarting 3D Mark to download the latest device list. If that doesn't help, let us know. We can add it to our database." So they've gone in and physically removed it from their database.
Wow. It's interesting to see that they're not, yes, they've done that, but they've left a sort of generic error message up. Like, if this is to publicly shame a manufacturer, you would think that they would go the next step of, like, if you want to see your results here, write your congressman. Tell them you don't want HTC cheating on their benchmarks.
That's good. Get the government involved. That will definitely solve the problem.
Well, you know what I mean. Right, HTC. So It's interesting. I mean, I think this is a really cool debate. It's a very interesting thing. I am too apathetic to tell you whether I'm more or less annoyed by this as when Samsung did it, because I just don't like benchmarks to begin with. Not because I think they're not useful to anyone, but just they're not. I don't care about them personally, and they don't affect how a device runs to me.
I don't care about benchmarks. Just give me real-world performance. I think I wrote an editorial with that exact headline.
Now, can I tell you, and I reference it often, too, can I tell you what has been getting under my skin a little bit?
Scabies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't even, yes, just, you win. You win the podcast. That's wonderful. Did my entire, I was not afflicted with this malady, but a large portion of my college theater department was infected with scabies due to a costume shop mishap one year. Yeah.
We had scabies, a scabies outbreak at my school one year.
Ugh.
In high school.
What are they? Now, how are they different from chiggers? Because I've never known what those are either.
I think chiggers just bite you, whereas scabies are mites that live under your skin.
That's horrifying. Yeah. Everyone is significantly less hot during a scabies infestation.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that, but what's been annoying me recently is that we often use the Moto X as an example of an Android device that doesn't outperform on benchmarks, but it delivers excellent performance regardless. The Moto X is just one in a long string of devices, though, for me. Thank you. Thank you, Taylor.
Just doing my research, man.
I appreciate it. Taylor's still giving us scabies info in the chat. Appreciate it.
Scabies is a skin disease.
Nobody wants to hear about it. Oh, okay. There's the difference. All right.
Boom.
Trumbiculidae. And now Adam Dowd, of course, is coming into the chat because he's had to go back to work, but he can come back to talk about scabies. What the hell are you guys talking about?
Oh, better you don't know.
Yeah, let's mercy kill him. Leave him out of the chat. What I was going to say was, yes, the Moto X does perform very well, but it's become one of a rather long line of devices that waits rather, intelligently until I've done the after the buzz to start messing up. So the Moto X, I like the Moto X a lot still, but mine has developed a rather irritating keyboard lag that, Taylor, I want to know if you're experiencing in any apps.
No.
Okay, it's the Google stock keyboard. Now, do you use a different one?
I use Minuum.
Oh, God, yeah, you are that weirdo that uses
linear. Yeah.
I love Minuum, actually.
Did this pop up all of a sudden, or was it an update you installed? Or
the day after the buzz was shot. Like, I think there's like a line in the script that's like, it's very difficult for me to slow the Moto X down, and it was. And then the day after the buzz aired, in particular, my Twitter keyboard just it's whole words behind sometimes, and I thought it was just confined to the crappy stock Twitter app. Yeah, and so but now I'm starting to see it in Hangouts as well. But then again, the Hangouts app is very, very slow and laggy now.
Mine isn't.
Your Hangouts app is not a lag fest?
No.
Do you SMS through Hangouts?
I SMS and instant message through Hangouts thousands of times a day.
And it's not laggy on your Moto X?
No.
Well, then maybe I need to restore. I need to bite the bullet and restore this.
I mean, mine's rooted and has some framework modifications.
Oh, then why am I even asking you?
Yeah, it sounds like you need a fresh start for your Moto X, Michael.
It does. Cleaning. It does.
Yeah, and I'm just saying mine. The reason I said that is because I had to root it, which meant I had to restore it probably a month ago or so, maybe 2 months. So it hasn't been running quite as long as yours.
It's fresh still.
But mine has not been running. We're not talking about a device with a ton of uptime that's like just succumbing to bit rot. This thing has only been live since January 30th. It should not be bogging down like this, but it is my...
Maybe it's all those porns you're watching.
It's all them trips to Pornhub. What?
I'm not the only one here who gets upset when his phone's been having 30, 40 days of uptime, then all of a sudden crashes. I mean, it doesn't affect anything, but it's kind of like a contest. How long can you have it going for?
Yeah, you're going for the record. You're like Jordy with his warp core efficiency. You just like to feel like you're optimizing and running at top efficiency.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
All I'm saying is...
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know. Let's get back to the rundown to close out Android.
Oh, is there a rundown?
There is a rundown.
I will check that out.
Oh, I didn't send it to you, huh?
No, good reason.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Check it out. Here we go. Boom.
I was loving picking up at the Microsoft event yesterday when Stephen Elop would switch into his Canadian accent.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool. There was one particular trigger word that got him a bit.
I heard a lot of aboots.
Aboot, yeah.
I have a friend, and he has a mainly basic English accent, like American English accent.
Standard American is what it's called.
Yeah,
yes.
Standard
accent?
American English accent. Thank you.
No, it's not an English accent. That's different.
It's English, though. That's the language.
Look, that's different.
American accent. Fine. Standard American accent.
Standard American dialect.
And then there are
I need to get Arthur Lesak in here? Go ahead.
I will cut you. And then just those random words like about and out and
warsh.
Just every so often he'll be talking, and it's not like he says them all the time, but you can tell that he's not going out of his way to say these. it's just interesting.
I mentioned this on Untethered last week, but the my Long Island has started to come out. Apropos of nothing, by the way. I've done nothing to trigger this, but I've listened to
Except for not sleep.
Yeah, but I've listened to my last few videos, and I say, for some reason, I say launch a lot. And
Instead of?
It's like, well, I just use the word launch a lot, and in the videos I say it like launch. I'm like, why is that happening? That shouldn't be. Stop, please. Let's stop. Listen, speaking of stopping, let's launch. Let's stop talking about all that crap, and let's talk about the initial sales figures for the. Let's never talk about scabies again. The initial sales figures for the HTC One M8, which seem to be off to a solid start, and there's a big but in here as well. And Stephen, why don't you take us on
always
a tour
like a
of
big
that
butt.
info?
I like big
I was
butts.
going to say, I don't want you to lie on this podcast, so please don't.
Yeah, well, I guess the but is we don't have any numbers, which kind of complicates the matter. But
That's
reports
not the way
out
to
of,
get sprung. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so
I don't
these
like big
reports
butts
are-
with no numbers.
We were talking about backside before. He was like, "Oh man, that icon's backside." Stephen, please get this train back on the tracks.
Oh, if we must. In Taiwan, where HTC sets up shop, the sales of the M8 are off to a supposedly very nice start. The stores are having trouble keeping them in stock. There are more orders than there are phones to send people, which, I mean, you want buzz going, so that's nice, but we don't really know if there were just not that many to begin with there or what the case may be. So inavailability doesn't necessarily mean super duper high demand, but at least in Taiwan, it's higher than expected.
But as you say in the piece, last year we saw the M7 get off to a very strong start as well.
That's the other problem.
Right.
Is these sales need to not just start off strong, but they have to continue strong if Samsung is, or if HTC is to avoid the juggernaut of Samsung swooping in and stealing away its sales come summer.
And I've only, this is going to rely on marketing, as we say every podcast. And I don't know, I've only seen the Gary Oldman one, guys, but what do we think about the ability of the new advertising push to do that for them, to move units? Because I feel like the Gary Oldman one is not terribly effective.
No. It didn't appeal to me, but I don't really care for him anyway. So
What?
well, it's not that I don't care for him. I just don't have a lot of.
I too have not a lot
He's
of
no
investment.
Alan Rickman, is what we're trying to say.
Well, I guess it just strikes me as odd, and maybe this was some of the point. Actually, I know it was some of the points to get an actor who can deliver speech in a very beautiful and very noticeable way, and kind of have him say nothing but blah 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 for 30 seconds. I understand that's what they were going for.
It was a weird
I'm just not sure
concept.
it was a good choice. Yeah.
Yeah. My first instinct was, or impression was, this seems a little lazy. I mean, tell us something about the phone. But then you think about it, you can see where they're coming from. The idea that they want people to go out and get the reports that we're giving, that this is a really solid phone, that you should consider HTC. Just because it's not a Samsung doesn't mean that it's not really, really good. And listen to what the tech press is saying, because we're saying relatively positive things about this device. But then you sort of also expect that if a company really wants you to buy the phone, they're going to sell it a little harder. We want some zazz. We want to be wowed. And there's nothing of that here.
It's a little frustrating. I remain convinced that HTC knows that marketing is where it needs to focus its attention, and that it's going to continue tweaking this going forward.
They were saying as much a year ago, though.
I know, it's true. But, and what I learned, it's the same firm that came up with the U campaign, though. So unless there's been a massive brain drain at this operation, and I don't know if that has happened or not, there are still people there who are capable of really brilliant stuff. Because I think the U campaign was the best smartphone commercial I'd ever seen.
Did you read the full interview with Business Insider about what he was saying about Samsung and all that?
Oh, Jason McKinsey?
Jason McKinsey. Sorry.
Okay. By the way,
I was looking at his face and thinking he.
Okay. Jason McKinsey,
said,
president of HTC USA, HTC America.
Yeah, he said if you want to buy a product built out of cheap plastic, there's a solution for you.
Yeah.
When questioned about Samsung's flagship, and goes on to mention that HTC is a company that invests in our customers and delivers a beautifully designed product that you can be proud of. And what he said is basically Samsung focuses on marketing and getting its brand name out there rather than creating an overall better product.
Are you sure that's an interview? Because I think he just said that at the keynote.
Well, what I was reading from there was Droid Life. Okay. But if you go to the Business Insider article, let me find it really quickly.
Nah, I don't want to. I don't think I want to go there.
McKinsey said in an interview with Business Insider, Samsung is a company that's focused on investing in advertising.
Huh. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. No. I mean, right. So, what are we saying? I mean,
all that says to me is that they don't, not that they don't want to advertise, but they feel that creating a better product rather than focusing all their efforts on advertising is more important. And I can't disagree with that, but they also need to they need to market. You need both.
I don't believe that quote at all, though. Like that's what you say when you can't spend as much on advertising as your competitor.
Okay, let the product speak for itself.
Right. You have to come to events with that kind of thing in your back pocket, where you're like, okay, we're not just going to up and say, yeah, we can't match that. We're going to spin it. Right. So.
Right. And I understand that, but it's just, we were talking about it. I felt like I should give that quote.
Oh, all right. Yeah, good call. Yeah, I wasn't dogging Business Insider, by the way. I just didn't want to click on the link because I am getting some bandwidth issues, and I'm kind of trying not to load too many pages right now. I think it's just because I keep hovering over those stupid blue dumb links on our frickin' page. Anyway. Let's move on and talk about the flip side of this coin, which is the Galaxy S5, which also looks to be selling in pretty good numbers, especially considering it's only officially released in one country and even then under duress. Right, Stephen?
Oh, right.
Are there any big butts with numbers?
There's definitely a noticeable, worthy backside to this device. So, yeah, pay attention, Taylor.
Nice. Focus mode engage.
Stephen?
I'm not up on this story. Sorry, this was one of Tony's. I'm getting familiar with it, just like the rest of you.
Average daily sales are estimated at 7,000 units, which is somewhat below 8,000 and 10,000 units for the Galaxy S4. But this is before it's actually supposed to be launched.
Yeah.
But it is out there now. I mean, all the carriers have it.
I love that Adam Dowd had to go back to work, but he's still dropping into the chat with stuff that we're now not talking about anymore. Oh, God. All right, Adam. Yeah. Okay. I think it's going to be exciting to see where that goes in terms of those numbers between these two companies as they slug it out. And yeah, go ahead.
Especially for the GS5, we're going to want to wait for broader availability before we start making any proclamations about its success or lack thereof.
Very true. And since we are essentially running on vapors in the Android section right now, I say we move on to our brief but powerful iOS section.
Yeah.
Now this is
the iOS plus Taylor section.
This is just the Taylor Martin show.
The Taylor Martin show.
I like the sound of that. I might need a third podcast.
Hey, why don't you tell us, Taylor, what you did and tell us how it went?
So last week on Thursday, I wrote a long editorial comparing the M8, the Galaxy S5, and the Xperia Z2. And I did all of the research, the note-taking, all of the spreadsheets, the writing, the pictures, the formatting on WordPress, everything straight from the iPad mini.
Yeah.
I hate you. You ask me a question, I'm going to answer it.
He's telling you.
Take a long time to answer.
All right. I'm just saying I did all of that from the iPad mini. And some people were saying that wasn't all that impressive. But I was trying to prove a point. And that was, can you go tablet only for a day? What if you wake up and your laptop doesn't work? Whatever it is, can you go tablet only for a day? And the theory doesn't apply to everyone because we all do different types of work. Obviously, if I needed to do a video one day, there's no way I'm going to edit the video on the iPad because I don't have enough storage to even hold the raw footage because I shoot 12 gigs of raw footage.
You could use that iMovie.
I could use it to edit, but I would have to wipe everything off the iPad. Everything.
Generate an
just
edit
to fit the
list.
raw footage.
Render it somewhere else.
So, moral of the story was I use an iPad every single day to do all of my writing. I do 100%, or not 100, I do 95% of all the writing I do ever from an iPad. And I've done that for years. There are months where I've taken breaks from it, but I've always done it that way, and I prefer it. And that was the point I wanted to make, is that you can use a tablet to do certain tasks and be more efficient or more effective than you would be with a computer. The reason I'm more efficient with an iPad is because it cuts down on distractions. I'm not going to be switching between apps and everything. And because that is a big hurdle for iOS, I use that to my advantage.
Isn't that a failure of the iPad more than anything? That it's not able to distract you as well?
Right, but I use it to my advantage. So because it's more difficult to switch apps, I tend to focus on one thing. Whereas on my Mac right now, I'm looking at Hangouts, Skype, Twitter, Day One, and Chrome. And on an iPad, I'm limited to one thing at a time, and I like it that way because it does.
You're like those guys who use Chromebooks to write because they really can't do much.
Right, and
at once. Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, if you want to work from a tablet, just get a Surface Pro 2." Everyone who said that missed the point. That was not the point. How many Surface Pros or Surfaces, how many Surface tablets, period, have sold in comparison to Android and iOS tablets?
Well, I think it's even less the point than you said right in the article. I'm not talking about the Surface Pro 2.
Right. I'm trying to appeal to the mass populace of tablet owners. And in that, I found that I enjoy and use the iPad mini every day, and I use it effectively and efficiently to get my work done. Can I do everything from it? No. I'm not ever going to be able to do everything from it. I could if I were wanting to spend 3 days to edit a video. And that's kind of the point. Everything takes twice as long outside of just standard writing. But it was fun. I enjoyed making the video, and then I added onto that with the iPad mini with Bluetooth keyboard is better than I imagined. I got the Zag Keys keyboard for the iPad mini a few weeks ago, and it is
Z-A-G-G, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. It's got a backlight on it. It's a hot keyboard.
It is
especially
hot.
for an iPad mini.
Yeah, I like that it's backlit. I'm gonna hit you with like an echo / a counterpoint in that I think I could do this too, and I think I could do it with the 2520 with its keyboard dock that I reviewed, the power keyboard.
The power dock, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's what a solid thing. Like, it's not perfect, it's not comfortable in every situation, but I really enjoy using the 2520 a whole lot, and I would like to go a day. Actually, I have gone a day using just it. So, rad times. There are strengths and weaknesses to every OS, and I think this one would not solve your issue, Taylor, because I think that multitasking, once you get used to it on Windows RT or 8, is actually kind of fun and useful, and you can do a couple things at once, especially with that snap action, which is really cool.
Well, I mean, I've gotten more quick about switching apps on the iPad, especially with the keyboard, because it has a home button on the keyboard, so you can just double tap that and switch between apps.
Yeah.
But the point is, I'm not able to look at 15 things at once.
It's not windowed, so you're not constantly seeing the distractions.
Right, and I can throw on Do Not Disturb, and notifications don't pop up. I can't do that from my computer. I mean, I guess I could go through and manually turn off notifications, but I can just flip one switch and put in some noise canceling headphones and just get work done. I from the iPad, I write probably 2 to 3 times faster. Now, everything else takes longer, but I write much faster because I focus.
I think we should take this experiment to its logical conclusion and have Taylor try to do a day's worth of work posting from a Kindle with like one of the old ones, and it still had a keyboard.
Yeah, with no tactile feedback at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, from the black and white browser. Yeah.
There you go.
Pass.
Actually, I've got a long-term project that is along these lines that I've been kicking around for about a year that I think I'll be finally ready to kick off once the S5 is done, because I can't do it before the S5 launches. So
intriguing.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about it more as we get close to it, but these are cool times. And I actually like the comment thread on your piece there, like the tablet only for a day, because people are kind of actively debating whether or not they could do it. And it's funny. It depends on the tablet, obviously, and it depends on the person, but we do live in a world where you can do it and get away with it. Even if you're not enjoying it, you can make it happen. Particularly now with Office for iPad, if you're one of those people who needs the full suite of Microsoft Office to do your content creation, as it were.
Yeah. My mom, just as an aside, She's probably worse than me. I think she has 3 iPads right now. But
whoa.
Yeah.
Damn.
But she doesn't go a day without it. She carries it to work. She carries it everywhere she goes, and she uses the crap out of it. I mean, she only uses one now. She's trying to sell the other 2. She had 2, one for work, one for personal, but she's consolidated to one. And she doesn't go anywhere without it because it's so vital to all the work she does.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
There are a lot of people, and I feel that I'm more efficient with it than without. Even though I'm using and carrying 2 devices, I get more done more quickly. And that's my point that I wanted to make, is that I can't do everything I want from it, but I can use it to my advantage. And, you can also learn different ways to use tablets if you're willing to put in the time and dealing with a little frustration to figure out what it can do for you. There's so many apps out there. Yeah, there's so many apps out there.
It's like investing in people. Just got to deal with a little frustration.
Yeah. Well, on a serious note, Office for iPad is phenomenal. Like, it's really good. I don't need it. I don't have a use for it. But it is really, really good. And that's the editorial I'm writing today. But it's really good. That's all there is to say about it.
Just make sure it doesn't collide with Adam Lane's Office editorial.
I didn't see what he wrote.
Check out what he wrote.
Mine's just talking mainly about price.
Okay. Well, check out what he wrote.
Oh yeah, that subscription stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm bored because we're talking about Office. Who wants to move into listener mail?
Don't everybody jump at once.
I was debating making a cricket noise, but I decided not to.
Yeah, that's okay. We want to move into listener mail because we are going to have to end this up, and because we have some pretty cool listener mail to get to. Actually, we have 4 pieces today, I believe, or 4. And I tell you what, why don't I go ahead and kick this off, because we've talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, and it's worth following up on. This is from Sam Ling. I would like to first thank everyone for doing such a great job. Your podcasts are fun to listen and sometimes make me smile super creepily on the street. I totally get that. I've done that before, too. My question comes after reading about Microsoft's announcement on Wednesday. Apple has Siri, Google has Google Now, and Microsoft has its very own Cortana virtual assistant. The implementation UI aside, I feel like out of these 3 major players, only Google's virtual assistant lacks some personality. For many people, it provides the most comprehensive search result, has a very natural-sounding voice, and does reply funnily to some questions. But to those who are not familiar, and even me who pays serious attention to the tech space, the name Google Now sounds just like a product or feature that has nothing to do with personal assistant.
No.
I use Google Now daily and absolutely love it, but I think it's about time for Google to introduce some personality to its virtual assistant. What do you think? Lastly, huge thanks to Michael Taylor and many others who always give me something to look forward to out of my boring life. And thank you to Stephen. Smiley face.
You got a smiley face.
Greetings from West Lafayette, Indiana, Sam Ling. Sam, awesome email. Thank you for that. We're very happy to bring some joy to your life. Your life can't be that boring.
If we're bringing joy to your life,
you heard
I'm
me.
sorry.
You heard me say what I do with my starships on the porch at night, Sam Ling.
We are a lot cooler on the internet than we are in person. That's all I'm going to say.
So we talked about this earlier on the show, and Taylor and I are of 2 distinct minds on this, and you've already heard our opinions, our respective opinions on this. I want to hear what Stephen has to say. Stephen, do you think that the Google Now virtual assistant could use a dose of personality, or should it stay in its relatively sterile incarnation?
I'm not sure. I have a few different opinions on this. One, I think Google hasn't done a very good job at promoting Google Now as its assistant. For one, the whole Google Now is sort of buried away. It's built into Google Search, and Google doesn't do a very good job of distinguishing it and making it clear that this is what the service is. This is Now. There's no standalone Now app or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I can see how that might make it seem like a lesser effort than Siri or Cortana. And then I think I'm at a disadvantage talking about how how it gets to know you and all that. I don't use Google Now. I use the Google search stuff. Google does not crawl through my email and tell me, when my flights are canceled and all that stuff. So I'm not getting the full experience. But at the same time, I sort of like the detached nature of it. It's It feels like you're running a search. I'm not sure I necessarily want an assistant who knows all these details about me talking to me. So I'm fine with it like it is. What do you guys think? I'm curious.
There is something to be said for a service that does not, that stays outside of personality stuff. You know what I mean? It's we have Siri with her distinct personality. Now we have Cortana with hers, and Google is the one who's like, you know what? No, Majel was the code name, but we're not going to do a personality here. It's just going to be Google, except in voice form. So maybe that's valuable in and of itself, being the odd man out. But I personally am a fan of personality in my virtual technology. I like my assistant to have a little flair of something.
I mean, you can change the voices, but that's about it.
Right, and that doesn't count. You can change the voices on your stupid GPS in your car, So
I want a Michael Caine one.
Like the Danny DeVito.
Look, guys, I'm getting an incoming call from Malaysia right now. What are the chances this is legitimate?
Whoa, 0.18. Yeah, it's somebody with a hot tip
on the missing flight.
Oh.
I haven't. Oh,
you went to the obvious place. Sometimes you just leave them alone. So Taylor thinks that the personality should go nowhere near his beloved Google Now glowing meatball.
I don't care. Like, I don't mind if it's personal or has jokes or is sarcastic, because I am. But I don't need it. Like, it doesn't bother me that it's not. I understand that it's a machine, and I don't want it to imitate something it's not.
Like, I get that. I do. But when maybe it's just because it's a complicated key phrase, but when I say, okay, Google Now, yes, I can.
Hello,
I can do a little sing-song, and it makes it halfway fun. But I don't like saying that.
Yeah.
Like that's really awkward and dumb. I want a different trigger phrase. I want to be able to program my own trigger phrase, and maybe then I feel a little better about it. But no,
it works. Okay.
You can say stuff that's close enough to Google Now. It'll still trigger it.
Yeah. Okay, Noodle Now. Yeah. that was Marquez. I stole that from Marquez, by the way. I didn't make that one up. But yeah, so I don't know. I think there are a couple different.
Did you see the video where my friend got my touchless control to start? He doesn't really sound like me, but he said it.
Yeah, and press members were setting off Dennis Woodside's Moto X in his presentation with their voices. So it's not perfect voice print, but I think the answer to this is that there's a lot of opinions out there, Sam. I think that there's no right or wrong one. It's just a question of what your personal preference is. I sure would like the choice, though. I would like the choice of spicing up the Google Now voice.
We should see a third party IBM solution. What if they got Watson as a service?
Yeah. I'm surprised, actually, that Watson hasn't been transmuted into some kind of on-demand service. Is there no Watson app in the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store?
I don't know.
We don't know this. We should know these things. I'm looking it up right now.
I want Google to use Michael Caine, and I want it to call me Master.
Hey, man.
Michael Caine.
That sounds pretty crazy. There doesn't appear to be a Watson app, but there are about 14 million Emma Watson wallpaper apps. Just in case anyone needed to know that those existed. So, Taylor, why don't you go ahead and read the next one, will you?
This is lengthy, so I might stumble, but okay.
It's all right.
This one comes from Alex This one comes from Alex from the Netherlands. Hey guys, when I got my first 4.7-inch Nexus 4, I immediately bought GTA Vice City from the Play Store.
Yes.
I upgraded from a smaller and less capable device and couldn't wait to be able to relive the experience I had when I played the game as a kid. But after playing the game on my phone, the downsides got me quickly. Playing the game sucked my battery dry, and even though the screen was pretty big, it was still way too small for the game to truly show its beauty. Ever since, I'm only using my phone for occasional text messages, Facebook, and calls.
Wow, this game totally ruined Alex's smartphone.
Yes, it did. It's become more of a social hub than an actual gaming device. So even though games can be played on my phone, I simply find the experience meh. I have a feeling that gaming for smartphones above Tetris or Snake level will never really take off. Do you feel the same, or am I the only one with a pessimistic view on smartphone gaming? Thanks for reading, and thanks for your really good podcast, Alex from the Netherlands.
And then P.S. So we'll
yeah.
Alex,
would you mind?
We'll do what we can on that, but the forums have fallen into disuse for some reason.
We still have the forums?
I know. The forums were the Pocketnow forums were this kind of project that no one believed in, but they were that one thing that one of those weird things that Brandon said when he was still in charge. Like, yeah, I don't believe in this at all. I think it's a crazy, stupid idea, but that's why I want to do it. And then Brandon left. So
yes, he required us to post, and I've never been a forums user ever. Like I've just never been big in forums.
The forums are the PS listeners, by the way, had to do with the forums. Alex had a question about the Pocketnow forums. So yeah, the forums are the least loved element of the Pocketnow experience, and they may go away at some point. Except for Taylor Martin, that's right. So I like
answer Alex's question.
But answer the question.
Yeah, fascinating question.
I am really big into mobile games. Not that I play a ton, but I like the idea. Just like I like the idea of working from a tablet. I like taking the mobile devices, which are by nature kind of hindered and have a cap on their functionality or usability, and pushing it to the limits. And one of the ways you can do that with your phone is a Moga Pro controller or something to that extent, a PS3 controller.
Totally.
Or something like that. And you pair a controller and your experience is totally different. Promise. It's guaranteed. And it's because the controls, on-screen controls for games suck.
They do.
They're so bad.
Even if it's a game that you cherish, like if you run an NES emulator on there and you're playing Mario or Tubin or something that you loved on the console, you can't reproduce those physical controls with on-screen keys.
And not even on-screen keys. Any game that uses tilt controls, like driving games, I hate.
I don't know about that. I actually really like Need for Speed and Asphalt 8.
I do too. Yeah.
I cannot play Asphalt. I just can't steer for the life of me.
I didn't used to. Well, you have to let go of your inhibitions. Like if you play it in public, you can't want to look dignified because you're gonna look like a 4-year-old, like jerking left and right all the time on the train and whatever.
And I make noises when I'm like, beep,
But there's this huge subset though of games that work really, really well on smartphones. So it's just it's a different type to change your expectations from a console.
Yeah, I covered those, at least what I think are really, really addictive games last week.
Mm-hmm.
And or the week before.
Threes thing I still haven't tried.
Oh, man. And there's a formula for a very good addictive mobile game, and it's short, quick, difficult over a long period of time, and easily replayable with simple controls.
Let me give you a particular example of a game that really works well for mobile. There's all kinds of formats, but there's one called Implode, and it's been around forever. I first played it on iOS. It's on Windows Phone now, and you basically set explosive charges to take down a building, and you have to be clever in your distribution of the charges. This is a game that's ideal for mobile because it's not graphically intensive. Like the implosions take place on a chalkboard, basically. The graphics are very sparse, but they're still, enjoyable. It tests your wit a little bit, and it has endless replayability because every time the artificial physics cause different explosion, and it's just perfect for the package that you're dealing with. But I say that, and I think of a game like Out There, which is a multiplayer sort of choose your own adventure game, and its high points are kind of haunting music and a very fun story and of quite a high difficulty. And then you have something like the Room series, whose graphics are intense, whose music is award-winning, and whose atmosphere is palpable when you play it. And furthermore, then you have something like Sparkle 2, which is a ripoff of a lot of other type of game concepts, but its particular execution makes it so much fun. So, Alex, I used to think like you when there were fewer games available out there and I'd played fewer of them, but this job actually has forced me to play more games in order to test phones effectively. And that broadening of my horizons, though done under duress, has helped me a lot. So I would recommend that you go out and, if you can find a $50 game card from somewhere, like a gift card for the Google Play Store or something, just buy as many games as you can, or just splurge one week and see what you can find. Go to game reviews. We don't do a lot of them, and a lot of good sites do. I think Polygon has some good ones.
I just want to give a shout out. If you want to get a lot of games and relatively cheaply, Humble Bundle. Always got a nice set of indie games. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look that up.
It's kind of like Stack Social, Michael, but it's for charity.
Oh, cool.
So you pay your own price, or you pick your own price, and you pick what amount of that price goes to charity, or what charity.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
always like 4 or 5, or if you beat the average, you get a couple extra games. It's a nice variety.
But if you want a free game, it's ad supported, but a really good free game. I was playing it earlier on this podcast. Roid Rage. I love that game so much.
That's right. Yeah, you were.
And Jetpack Joyride. Both of those are really fun and don't have difficult controls. And that's what you have to look for, is something that's not trying to be more than it is, or trying to push your phone too hard, because it's not that your phone can't handle it, it's that the controls just fall apart.
Yeah,
and if you get a controller, something like the Mocha Pro, which is what I would recommend, it's probably, I think it was $50, but now there's a Mocha Hero, so I think they dropped the price of the Pro. It's basically a 360 controller with a clamp on the top of it for your phone, and you pair it through Bluetooth, and it's great.
I just
played
never
so many hours
around. Like, I got a Moga for free at PAX last year, and I was like, great, this is going to be awesome. And then I kind of used it once, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Oh.
Like, if a game is designed well enough, you don't need it, is what I think.
Right.
You know?
But
Remember
Dead Trigger,
FPS games and stuff? Yeah.
like Dead Trigger with the Mocha Pro is really fun.
Actually, that's true,
And so
because
does
I
Modern Combat.
stopped playing Modern Combat because the on-screen controls sucked so hard.
Yeah,
So,
but it's really good with the Mocha Pro.
We got to move on. Steven, did you have a final point on this one?
No, let's keep going.
Yeah, Alex, that was a cool question. You just keep looking around, man. You will find games you like that are well made for the smartphone format. It's just a question of kind of discovery. So give it another chance. I think you'll find some really great stuff out there.
Or get an NVIDIA Shield for $200.
Yeah, cheap.
Or, snap one of those up on a fire sale.
I'm still thinking about that.
Why don't we
I
have
am
Steven read Charlie McKenna's email, and then
Short and
I'll
sweet.
close us out.
All right, Charlie writes, hello, I'm a big fan and listen to the podcast every week, and this is my first time writing in.
Yay.
Thanks for doing so, Charlie. I was wondering, what do you think about waterproof phones? Are they the future of the industry now that manufacturers like Sony and Samsung are making them? Or do you think this is another trend that will fall by the wayside?
It
Thanks,
better
Charles.
not be. It better
I
not
should
be
hope
a
not.
trend that falls by
I
the
want
wayside.
to put my opinion out there before Michael gets a chance to speak.
Too late, champ.
I just want to say that I don't like the way Sony or Samsung is doing it, because you still have port covers. All I want is nano coating all the way. Motorola did it right.
But
saying.
but what about the dust portion of ingress protection? You have a lot of people like my father who work, around wood and cutting, plywood all day long, and is surrounded by sawdust. I used to get my dad a new phone every year because the dust would like just creep its way in under his screen, and then you wouldn't be able to see the screen because it's just.
I had that problem when I worked at Lowe's in the lumber department with my BlackBerry. I had dust under my screen all the time.
It's like
I have that with my Nexus 5. It's not even getting into the phone, but just right along the edge of the glass.
Edges. Oh,
It's
yeah.
stuck in there. Hate it.
Yeah, that's why the IP stuff is good. That's why the port covers are important in that respect. So
But then if the port cover fails, you have, what was the phone that you dropped, the Sony phone you killed, Michael?
Z1S.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, if you do the port cover, you still need nano coating. But I would just prefer what Motorola's done with the Moto X. I prefer that. It's
I don't
a cleaner,
understand, though.
easier method.
Why can't you just isolate the ports? These aren't, even like shorting out a USB port should not kill the device it's attached to. And I feel like with some better electrical engineering, they could, and like isolating the ports so that if water gets into the port, it's not getting into the phone as well.
Well,
I don't know about you guys, but I carry my phone in a Ziploc baggie.
Sort of. Samsung sort of did that with the Galaxy S4 Active. Like the headphone jack was in the free flood area, so it didn't have a flap on it.
Yeah.
The headphone jack flooded freely, but then again, that phone didn't really live up to its active lifestyle so hard.
And as to Charlie's question about where the industry's going, absolutely, I think we're seeing waterproofing being placed further and further towards the front. It started out sort of a niche thing. It was big in Japan, as many trends tend to start.
And bands, yes.
And then it sort of spread to, we had these devices like the GS5 Active, and now these waterproofing features are being incorporated into the regular phones. We don't have to get a special edition. So yeah, absolutely going to see much more of this in the years to come.
I completely agree, and I cannot express how happy I am that this is happening, because I've been calling for it for years. You know me. I'm a nautical guy. I'm around the water a lot, and I really.
And these
like
phones,
that
they
feature.
don't look waterproof. They don't look like they've been, specially encased. They're not substantially bulkier than comparable devices. The GS5 looks like a regular old smartphone.
Exactly, and
There's no downside.
The Sony devices are gorgeous, and
Yeah.
even the One M8. It's not officially rated for it, but we've seen YouTube videos of it sitting at the bottom of a sink full of water with the screen on, not being bothered, not having a care in the world.
Ain't no thing.
Yeah, so hey, don't do that. By the way, don't do that to your One M8. We did not tell you to do that. So anyway, Alex. You wrote in before, and I'm talking to Charles now, so never mind, Alex. Charles, I think that this is a trend. I agree with Stephen, and I couldn't be happier about it. So let's see more of it. But Taylor, I agree with you too. The nano coating is a much more elegant solution, and I think we are seeing it. It's not picking up. It's not showing up as often as the more traditional port cover approaches, but I think we're seeing it more often. And I think we will continue to see it more often as those. Liquipel and their competitors continue to woo OEMs at the manufacturing phase.
Somebody's going to get a bottle of Rain-X, take apart their phone, and try to dunk it in there, see if it does the same thing. It's not going to end well for anyone.
No, don't do it. It'll be cool to see Apple do it, because I think Apple will eventually do this. And it'll be fun. What do you think, gents? Should we let Julian take us home?
Woohoo!
Julian Wang writes.
They're calling me out.
This is not a. I'm reading this mail for two reasons. Number one, Julian is a fellow Boston inhabitant, but more importantly, number two, I think he has a good point here. Appreciate the work you guys do, but I'll cut to the chase. I think Taylor is picking the wrong fight in this picture war in HTC. Now, Julian is referring to our last podcast where we kind of had a little debate about whether 4 megapixels is enough on a modern display.
Okay.
And he says, Taylor made his picture-watching habits clear in his editorial. Wallpapers are great for those HTML5 pages. Take your Lumia 1020 out and snap away. The thing is, small business thrives off social media blood, Instagram bait. Twitter maxes your background picture to 2 megabytes or something. Facebook's cover photo is 850 by 300 or something. Product pictures, 1,000 pixels square. TV industry still figuring out what to do with 4K. You get my point. Oversampling stops mattering at compression's edge. What actually matters in pictures? The ones you spend time with on your QHD tab. Macro elements with standout details. It's how we remember things. Puppy Fido and his open pink paw, Big Dog Fido and his green eyes, etc., 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 etc.
It's positively poetic.
Yeah, I know, right? I think HTC had their heart in the right place because there are too few things in 2014 on the mainstream internet that have use for 8 megapixel snapshots. It'll change, just not soon enough. Julian
That's a
Wang.
fair point,
Yeah.
but I stand by what I said.
saying.
4 megapixels is still not enough. Yes, there's compression. Yes, there's all these other things where 4 megapixels is, yes, technically higher than the resolution that you're going to be uploading to. But if you look at these pictures taken with the M8, they're just still very, very, very noisy. They're noisy, and you can't crop. Because if you crop, you're just cropping on photos without detail. That if you disagree with that, then I don't know what else to tell you.
How
The
wide
M8
is
is
4
bad.
megapixels? How many pixels wide are we talking? Like 2,000-ish?
Let me find out, because I think
Or-
I've been uploading yesterday. It is 2688 by 1520. That's the standard. 2688 by 1520. And I can't crop these because they already don't look that great.
But you could zoom them out. Wouldn't you get some enhanced detail if you 50%ed them?
You just
My
gotta,
point is, I
just gotta
never
click the
post
enhance
pictures
button.
online above maybe 1,000 pixels wide.
Yeah, this is the point I keep making every week. It's like, I do my art on Instagram. If I'm taking a shot of a sunset, I'm going to have prepared for it and taken a camera that I appreciate, like the 1020. I mean,
And that's part of my reason. I may buy the M8. May. I haven't decided yet, but I will always be disappointed with the camera. Always.
I get it.
That is a fair assessment. That maybe I was a little too brash and said that no, I won't buy it because of the camera. when I carry a Moto X.
I don't think it's that's
hypocritical.
It's a personal call, but I think Julian is making the point that I've been making from the start. You get outside of our circles, you get outside of the conversations we as tech geeks have, who have access to every smartphone under the sun. You talk to a normal person, you show them the pictures on the HTC One M8 screen, you show it to them even on an iPad mini with Retina display. I think those pictures are going to be good enough for 85% of people you run into in America.
The pictures I've taken so far are not good.
For you, yes, and you have
in general, in
Yeah.
comparison to just taking a random picture with an iPhone and a random picture with the M8, it's not good. I stand by that. The camera is a huge
problem.
disappointment.
That's separate from the resolution issue, I think.
Yeah, we talked about the iPhone camera thing and this. Yeah, it's like I feel like I've had this conversation so many times, but it's because it's the thing you talk about with the M8 because you have to talk about that camera. But it would be my contention that if the last year's camera, if the One M7 had carried an inferior camera, like a 2-megapixel shooter, say, we would not be having this conversation so much. I think people are much more burned about the fact that HTC did not improve on the camera in a measurable sense.
Higher.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Well, it's that and the fact that they didn't bump the resolution and they didn't even make a lateral move. They removed one of the most important parts of that camera, and that's optical image stabilization.
I think that is all
For a-
valid. For a
hardware
gimmick that doesn't work right.
For a hardware gimmick that has just so many flaws. Like Jason Cipriani, a good friend of mine from CNET and everywhere else on the internet, who works for so many companies.
Dropping across the universe. Yeah.
Well, anyway, he was talking to me on Twitter today, said, when the M8 Duo camera works well or works as intended, it's amazing. I agree. It looks great. But it fails in so many areas.
Do you know what? I've never seen it work as intended. I have never gotten it to work as intended. You look at any of the shots I've taken with the Duo camera where it's selectively blurring, there's always either a visible line or the line's in the wrong place or somebody's foot is blurry.
That's a hack. You can't do what they're trying to do with the optics that the thing has.
Right. I agree. I'm going to try to send you this link really quickly. And at a quick glance, this picture looks really good. And then if you look between the girl's arms, the background is in focus. So that's where it fails.
Yeah.
But it took me a second to look at that and see that. But it's still that he's right. When it works well. But I've seen so many problems with it that's such a very narrow scope that it doesn't really count or matter.
I'm terrified
It's
by
not.
that.
It's not worth. It's not worth the effort HTC put into it, and the camera simply is not good enough. It is for 90% of people, but for HTC to put as much effort behind this camera and put so much work behind it and say, yes, this Duo camera's awesome. No, it's not.
Once again, you're changing the conversation. Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a phone with a camera that's going to please most people, or are we talking about tracking a company's progress year over year? Those are two entirely different conversations. One of them we care about, one of them normal people care about, and I'm more interested for the moment in the one that normal people care about. Not because I'm a fanboy or like I'm sticking up for HTC because I like them or anything like that, because it's more interesting to me. Can this company succeed on this hardware that every geek in the world thinks is underpowered and is an affront to progress?
That's weird, though. Isn't that sort of a conflict with the advertising we've seen so far? They listen to what the tech guys are saying, but not if you want to think the camera is good. It's good enough for you guys, but ignore that part.
Right, yeah. Go listen to what David Pogue says.
They're hedging their bets on a gimmick, and I don't like that.
It's Evo 3D all over again.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And they were so behind that until they weren't. They were like, first 3D camera. Well, I guess LG had the first one, but they're like, we got a 3D camera. Yeah, it's awesome. Oh. But it has other things that are great. Like, they change their story so quickly, and they're not doing that with this. They're like, this is amazing, and it's really not. It's clearly fake. I've seen software do better fake bokeh than Duo camera.
Well, you got to check out my Nokia Refocus comparison because there's your example of something that does it better.
Perfect example, and that's my point. It's not that the camera.
We know your point. I got your point. I just got a low battery warning. We got to stop you from talking. I gotta cut you off. We're over 2 hours. We're gonna keep having this conversation again. I guarantee you we'll run into it again. I want to let everyone know that I'm at 5% battery. If we don't stop now, the podcast will be lost forever because the computer will shut down before I can save it.
Is it all in RAM? What the hell are you doing with this?
No,
It saves it. It's saved.
I leave. No, it doesn't. It doesn't actively save. Yeah, anyway. That before we talk about that any longer than is necessary, I want to thank Adam Dowd, who left us long ago and was probably still hanging around in the chat talking about scabies, for joining us, and especially to thank Stephen Shank, who was not scheduled to come on today but came on out of the goodness of his heart to explain the news to we editorial folks. Thank you, Stephen.
No problemo.
Taylor, thank you as always for your passion and your adoration of Taco Bell.
Oh, I missed the Taco Bell discussion?
No, we didn't. No, I just threw it in.
But people think I love Taco Bell, which I do.
I do too, man. You're not alone. I had chicken teriyaki at the mall for the first time in a long time the other day, and it was just about as lackluster as that sounds. But, we'll talk more about that on the next episode. And for now, yes.
My Apple still order.
Did it ship?
The site says that it's still processing, but they've charged me, and they don't charge until it's shipping.
That's promising.
That's great news. Well, you're going to get it soon.
And I got $25 off for no reason.
It's for being late. They had a press release on that. It's for taking so long.
It's called the Steely Determination Discount, and it's $25 off per order.
Taylor Martin will be talking more about that on Twitter, where you can find him at CasperTech. Thank you for joining us, folks, and thank you for all your listener mail every week. Stephen Schenk is at Stephen Schenk. We do read every piece of listener mail sent to us at podcast@pocketnow.com. And finally, I am at Captain 2 Phones on Twitter, Captain 2 Phones. You can also follow Pocket Now officially at Pocket Now on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. Adam Dowd is at Dead Technology, as you said before. And finally, if you enjoy the podcast, we hope you do, leave us a review wherever reviews are left, please. As always, our genuine thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more Mobile Tech Talk next week.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
It was a gallant effort. That was nice.
I'm eating lunch still.
All right. Well, you will have to eat through the intro. I believe Adam Dowd has a hard stop at, 1:45?
Give or take.
Adam Dowd has a semi-flaccid stop at 1:50 or so.
Exactly.